Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. We are so glad that you have joined us. Before we do anything else, we try to remind you this each and every time. If you like what we're doing on Crew Call, subscribe, share, like, rate, review, whichever the platform you're watching on or you're listening to, do whatever you can do. That helps us spread the Crew Call gospel to others who might like similar content. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm great. The playoffs have started.
Oh, man.
At least for the Cup Series and the trucks.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Not the Xfinity yet. They've got a couple races yet.
Got a little work to do. Daytona on Saturday night, Todd. What a spectacle!
What drama?
What
drama?
You have all
Tyler
of
Reddick
these,
ends up in a wall early.
The 2-point guys
both
had terrible point days, which is interesting. You have all of these drivers. I think you can make a case that, Eric Jones might run for the win or Ryan Preece might run for the win. I'm not sure we have Cole Custer, Justin Haley up there, wherever Daniel Suarez came from. What an amazing race that was.
Yes, and the fact it wasn't just crash-filled at any point. I really appreciated the racing that these guys put on, and especially knowing what's on the line. And you brought it up. Yeah, Ryan Blaney wins the race. We'll get into that later. But outside of that, the rest of the top five were all guys that needed a win to go on. And there were some great drives. Justin Haley up through there. Daniel Suarez was pushed on Ryan Blaney, who pushed on Cole Custer to get that top lane rolling, to get the third lane rolling and driving forward. The other one, you brought it up. Eric Jones got shuffled by Kyle Larson.
Right.
Like he gave him a push that he should have wrecked.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Slid back. I don't know. He came from in the teens with 2 to go to finish 5th. Like, there were so many good stories out of this and so much good racing. And the fact that we could come to the line 4 wide and finish under green. Yeah. Impressive.
So many times Daytona, you talk to a driver, where do you want to be on the last lap? I want to be leading, so when the caution comes out, I'm there. We ran to the line. I think that is really, really special. I think that just added to it. I always, when we have those wrecks at the end, you always kind of like, you leave with this little and there was no on Saturday night. It was like, wow, that was spectacular. And Ryan Blaney, holy cow.
Doing what Ryan Blaney does.
Rolling.
He's really good at this stuff. He's a really good. I've won at Daytona with him in this race in 2021. He's processing. He's super talented, but he's processing at a high level and understanding what's going on. Cole Custer was our leader off of turn 4.
Yep.
He went down to block a run, and the 7 came up in front of him. Then the 2 of them kind of chased down and parted the seas, and
here we go.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Really amazing. And big picture, this Blaney team is just absolutely picking them up and laying them down. We were looking at the stats. It's like top 8 finishes in the last 6 races, I think it is. It's insane.
Yeah, they're. If you look at the last 6 races, they're outpointing the field by almost a race, it seems like. Putting things together, finished second in points overall. He ended up with that win, second in regular season points, with 7 DNFs.
Holy cow! Because remember that portion of the year?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this team's had speed all year long, and just they're in playoff form heading into the playoffs. I think they're a reckoned. He probably will be my pick for champion.
Yeah, they're so good. That is for sure. So many great stories out of there. Such a great race. I agree. Celebrate Daytona. Ryan Blaney picked up the win. We got to talk about Friday night. Yeah,
when you talk about it, where do you want to be? You want to be leading on the last lap because when the caution comes out, you want to be there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Parker Kligerman, super sub.
Yeah. We've gotten so we no longer salute with an attaboy Marty Lindley. But I'm telling you, Marty Lindley could write a book this year on all the ways he's won races, and some of them from sitting at home. Absolutely amazing. The execution of the driver change, the strategy, the patience in making the adjustments that Parker wanted on that car.
Yep.
Parker, no practice.
The interesting part is that Parker and Connor were at the shop to work on the driver change, and they talked about this in the race broadcast, totally makes sense. With both of them doing endurance racing, they were the two that understood what had to happen. They were kind of the coaches telling everybody else, this is what we've got to have done, and they got that driver swap done in 90 seconds, got him out there in a good position. Parker's insert to start with, Connor with an insert kind of filling to get there and keep him safe. But, well executed. And we haven't seen this since, what, somebody said 2007, Eric Amarola.
In Milwaukee.
Denny Hamlin was late flying in, so Eric started the race. They put Denny in middle race, and Eric was leading the race when they pulled him out of it.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, great stuff. So kudos to everyone at Junior Motorsports for getting that win.
Yes.
Another one, 14 wins or something like that. They are just absolutely insane.
They are the team to beat and what was it, 1-2-3 finish for him?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Allgaier and Sammy Smith were right there with him.
Yeah, good stuff, that is for sure. Speaking of good stuff, a week or so back at Richmond, it was Austin Dillon picking up the win, setting Austin and his crew chief, Richard Boswell, into the playoffs. We're going to talk to Richard Boswell next.
The NASCAR channel is available now on Tubi. Tell them we got it. 24/7 news, documentaries, with access to the exclusive NASCAR Vault. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free, only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Todd Gordon, Steve Post, and we are going to welcome North Carolina crew chief on that number 3 car. Richard Boswell joins us. Hello, Richard. How are you?
Doing good, guys. How are you guys?
We are well. You picked up that win last week at Richmond, set you up going into the playoffs. Just the overall momentum, the feel, everything as you were able to get that win at Richmond and now take it forward to Darlington.
Yeah, I think there's momentum in the building for sure. Obviously, any win at the Cup level, can take you from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. It really helps the culture in the building. It helps the morale. I wish we would have gotten the finishes, that we were all hoping for at Daytona to kind of continue that momentum going into the playoffs. But definitely, take home message from Daytona was we sent 3 really fast cars down there, and just as Daytona is, things just didn't work out the way we had kind of hoped they would.
What does winning at Richmond, giving you that kind of extra week before the cutoff race, what does that afford you looking forward? Do you take a chance in Daytona week to kind of start thinking about the strategies of the first round?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us that there's our Speedway program, I feel like at RCR has been great. We have great engines at ECR. The cars, we're pretty much done prior to us getting back from Richmond. So it really did allow us to kind of take a deep breath, a little bit of a weight lifted off your shoulders, knowing that you're now in the playoffs, not going to Daytona having to win. Certainly allowed us to start preparing for Darlington and Gateway as well as Bristol as we go into this first round.
What are there specific things you can take from Richmond and apply to some of these races in the playoffs?
Well, I think more than anything, the biggest thing is just reminding ourselves that, hey, we are doing the right things, right? We have made changes, and they're paying off, right? I think we all went into Richmond with the expectation that, hey, this was a strong race for Austin last year. It's obviously a different tire. It's a new year. Guys had a year to look at what they did last year. We're going to have to make things better. We're going to have to make improvements. But we don't have to reinvent everything, right? We just need to work off of what those guys had last year, try and perfect it the best that we can, and go in there and have a solid race. And thankfully we were able to do that. But really, to your question, right, it's so much about momentum. It's so much about proving to ourselves that we're doing the right things and just continuing to do that into this first round.
You talked about it. You're the only team in the organization, really on the campus, that's in the playoffs. What does that afford you going into the playoffs, for benefits? I always saw, like when I was in playoff runs, I liked it when I became the only team in the organization because it was solely focused on me. What does that afford you in opportunities in the playoffs?
Well, I think, first and foremost, our goal going to Daytona was to get that 8 car. right? I think for us in the way that our organization is restructuring, and we know we're not where we need to be. I think us having 2 cars in the playoffs would have been more beneficial for us.
Yes.
But also I feel like, I've got a great teammate in Randall Burdett, and I know that he's going to give me everything he can to help us. He's gonna do the things that the 3 team needs going into these first 3 races. If there's air pressures we want to try, if there's different setup balances we want to try unloading, there's definitely certain things that I know I can count on him on to go into this first round and help us. So Darlington, Kyle Busch, they obviously run great at that track. So we'll be leaning on them heavily. Bristol is obviously another track that Kyle runs very well at. I think they won Gateway in 23, right? So definitely have some great teammates to lean on going into these first 3 races.
You talk about leaning on Kyle. You won the Southern 500 last year with Chase Briscoe, and really, I mean, top 5 fashion all day long. You were arguably the second or third best car until that last run. You really kind of stepped it forward. 23rd in the spring with Austin. How different is the spring day race from the Southern 500 night race?
Well, it's certainly different. And, I think going into the spring race, I obviously had some ideas from the fall that I wanted to try. I thought really had a good car in practice. I thought we had a top 10 to top 12 car in practice, and the crew chief kind of screwed it all up overnight. And we just got ourselves way too tight for the day. And definitely that will be different as we go into the night. I think for me, the biggest heartache right now going into this race is just a 9 o'clock Saturday practice. And how does that correlate to a 6 p.m. Sunday night race?
It's fascinating because Todd and I talk about things before what we want to talk to you about. And I want to ask about that 9 a.m. practice and just go a little deeper into that. You said how it correlates, but what are your concerns about that 9 a.m. practice going into a 6 o'clock race the next night?
Yeah, I just don't recall us doing that, right? I haven't been at the Cup level very long. But for me, it's been a long time, even at the Xfinity level where we practiced, when the track surface would be so much different. So really, we're just monitoring temps, right? What are the temps going to be at 9 a.m.? What are they going to be at 6 p.m.? How is that going to change the track temp based off of where the sun rises and where the sun sets? And there's a lot to it. And, we have tools that can kind of help us with that. And we'll be using those tools the best we can all week. We've got some great engineers at this organization that started working on that stuff last week. So it's definitely going to be different, a little bit different left side tire going into this race than we had in the spring. So definitely a lot of different variables. But we're just going to work our butts off. We're going to put our best foot forward. This is a track, I think Austin, I just got off the phone with him, and he was confident in the Southern 500 last year that he was going to have a top 10 day. So this first round's all about just base hits, right? We need to, historically, it takes about 70 points roughly to make it to the next round. So we need to score. We're going to have 5 going in. We're going to need to score somewhere in the range of 65 to 70 to make it to the next round. And we don't need a walk-off homer, right? We need to be able to know that going into Bristol, we've stacked up 45 or 50 points. 55, 60 would be really nice.
Bristol.
Yes.
But that's what we need to do. We need to go in, concentrate on top 10 days, not take ourselves out of it.
Well, maybe this 9 a.m. applies more to what the finish of the race is going to be. That's the only thing I could look at. But I'm with you. Think about the only one I can think of is when we used to do the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'd have a Saturday morning practice at Michigan that we'd always skip. Like we didn't want to. The motor guys screamed about us too fast. Yeah. We wouldn't skip it. Yeah. But no crew chief would skip it. But you talk about that 70-point number, and everybody kind of puts that out there. Does the strength of this year's field, because I feel like from top to bottom, I could make arguments for everybody making the round to 8, and it's one of those pieces. Does that change a little bit what your destination is going forward to these 2 races? And how does Bristol being the cutoff race, a place you could be vulnerable to somebody else's mistakes, how does that kind of set up the first 2 races at Darlington and Gateway?
Yeah, I think that I think if you look at 2022, 2023, and 2024, right, like it has progressively you've had to score more points each round. So to your point, yeah, I don't think we know what that number is, right? It could be 95 points for all we know. It really just depends on what guys do. I think the biggest thing is if you take yourself out of the first race like we did on the 14 last year, right? We got involved in an accident very early on, and I think we scored 1 point, and that just makes the next two races so difficult. So it's not undoable. I can remember leaving Atlanta kind of defeated last year, right? Like, gosh dang it, man. It just makes this look like Darlington wasn't as good as it was, right? We didn't belong. And, we go to Watkins Glen and Bristol the next 2 weeks, and we score more points than any other playoff contender at Watkins Glen. And we scored a ton of points at Bristol to make it into the next round. So yeah, you can have mistakes, right? You can have a bad race and still recover from it. But in the situation we're in with only 5 bonus points going in, we need 3 solid weekends. We need 3 solid races. I look back at Gateway last year. I think Austin finished 6th. He had a great car. Great race, another short track style track that he excels at. Bristol earlier this year, we had a top 10 there. So I'm excited about this first round. We have 3 good tracks for Austin, 3 good tracks for this 3 team, and we just need to go execute and do the things that we know we're capable of doing.
How does Gateway because Gateway, I believe, is the intermediate aero package, right? It's got more downforce into it. How does that kind of separate itself from the short tracks?
Well, I think you just have to, that your pitch attitude is going to be a little bit different, right? That the certain things that you maybe aren't as concerned with at Richmond, you're going to be more concerned with on this aero package going to Gateway. So for us, it's really about just minding our P's and Q's, making sure that we hit all the details right on the intermediate package, knowing that as you continue to add more downforce, it gets more important. It's not, Richmond is super high deg, right? Yep. Gateway there's some deg there, but not quite as bad as Richmond. So we're just going to dot our I's, cross our T's, do everything we can going into that race. I will say that, it's no secret that our intermediate package has not been as good, right, as it needs to be compared to some of the other Chevy key partners, compared to the other Fords and Toyotas out in the field. So it's been a strong effort going into these playoffs. Darlington, Gateway, with that intermediate package, knowing that the next round has it as well with Kansas. So, we're all hands on deck. We've got some great employees here at RCR. Got great folks that at GM that help us, and we just want to put our best foot forward for all of them.
I want to put one of those terms out there that you're using, deg, meaning tire degradation or lap time fall off. That's something that we saw a lot of there at Richmond as we went forward. You brought up the being at RCR. How's the transition to welcome Ben, and what didn't you expect out of it?
It's been awesome, man. Honestly, like when you hear these guys talk about crossing the railroad tracks being a family, like this is a family run team. Austin comes into the shop on Mondays and meets with his grandfather along with Ty, and they talk about the future of the company, right? The 3 of them. And we all know that at some point Ty and Austin are going to take over the reins of RCR, and I have no doubt in my mind that they have the ability to do that, and they'll continue to make it a family affair. But it's been a lot of fun. I tell people all the time, Richard Childress is probably the reason I took this job. Just seeing the effort that he has put into building this organization, and at his age, sitting on top of a hauler in 95-degree weather watching practice. Right? Like, it's just impressive that he has continued to do this. He told me earlier this year, he came in my office and apologized because he wasn't going to be at Bristol. And I'm like, gosh dang, this guy here, right? The guy that owns the company is apologizing to me. He's like, yeah, I know. It's the first time in 56 years I've missed Bristol. Right? So it's amazing to me the amount of love that he has for this sport, and it's contagious, right? Like you walk through this building and there's a parking spot out front that's got his name on it, and very few days is that parking spot empty.
Neat. That is cool stuff. You've talked about Richard Childress, the present. You've talked about Ty and Austin talking about the future. Richard, you're a guy that has deep roots in this sport, deep roots in stock car racing. Do you ever just walk around up there? Do you ever just go sit and look at some of those 3 cars in the museum? I mean, it's got to be kid in a candy store when you take a minute and step back from the crew chief role and just kind of put on your race fan hat.
I mean, it's an iconic place, right? It is one of the coolest places that I've ever worked at. It probably is the coolest place I've ever worked at, right? I've been fortunate enough to work at some very neat places, Hendrick Motorsports, Junior Motorsports, Stewart Haas Racing, but the roots are deep here, and you see it on the campus, right? Like, this is one of the original. This place has been here for I can't even tell you how long. You see some of the old 3 cars in the museum and in the gift shop, and there's definitely a lot of history.
Really neat, that is for sure. I would be remiss at this moment of not just wishing our best to Chocolate Myers. Chocolate's kind of the curator of the museum, dealing with some health issues. We want Chocolate to get back to full strength so he can be showing people around campus up there. And when you show people around campus, that 3 car is getting ready to go playoff racing. Richard, we congratulate you on the success at Richmond, and we wish you well as we roll through the next 10 weeks.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it as always.
There we go. Richard Boswell joining us here on Crew Call. Stay with us. More coming up next.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. The playoff field is set. There's so much about the playoffs, but to me, this is about Darlington, the Southern 500. I shared with you, Todd, before the broadcast. I was out last night with some friends, ran into Andrew, one of the tire changers over at Hendrick Motorsports, and I said, are you ready to get busy on Sunday night? This race, from pit crew members to strategy to building a fast race car to building a durable race car, this race tests every part of a race team.
Yeah, it does. It does. And drivers running up against the wall for 367 laps if we don't go into overtime. It is. It tests everything. You look at it, the teams will have 12 sets of stickers and a set of scuffs. So we've got the opportunity for 12 stops in the race. I think if you just play this race out green, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stops.
8 stops.
That's without a caution flying. And if a caution flies 6 laps into a tire run,
there's 9 stops.
We're going to come for tires. So it's just incredible what this place does and the test it does. Not only being the Southern 500, but starting at 6 p.m., it's in the heat of the day, the sun shines on it, racetrack goes through a big transition. You use the word deg there. This is a big tire degradation place. You wear tires out. You lose pace. I mean, you'll see cars slow down 2 seconds a lap time through 20 laps. It's crazy what'll happen. This tests every facet of a race team. What a great spectacle to start the playoffs.
To me, it's an endurance run, and your 9th or 10th or 8th or 11th pit stop may be the money stop. Your strategy call, getting your car, and I think back a couple years ago, Eric Jones, man, they got that car dialed up at the end of the race. Last year, Chase Briscoe had a great top 5 car. At the end of the race, they were gone. Man, it's how you perform 450 miles after a long day. That's what I love about this, to see who can exceed right at the end.
Who can elevate? Who can elevate at the time? And as you talked about, I mean, Richard and Chase Briscoe last year in that 14 car, they were a 2nd or 3rd place car all race long. And then they finally executed the pit stop.
Right.
They got control of the race, and he drove off in the sunset. Did a great job of executing late after, as you talk about. A lot of these races are 7, 6, 5, at most 8 stops. This is going to be 9 to 12. This is just that's getting it done. And oh, by the way, you got to run 18 inches off the wall for 300 plus laps.
Yeah, well, we've talked about the crew and strategy. The driver.
Yes.
You have to be exhausted.
I think this is the longest, hardest race of the year. And I know it's 100 miles shorter than the Coke 600, but the Coke 600, you can just kind of roll it down to the bottom, roll back out. Like, you can take a break in the Coke 600. Here you can't.
No.
I mean, you've got to enter and be within 3 feet of the wall every lap at this place. Just the mental stress of coming to Darlington. It's a great way to kick off our playoffs.
It really, truly is. So cool, that is for sure. As we talked about with Richard Boswell, it's an interesting schedule. 9 a.m. NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying. At 11:30, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series goes green from Darlington. The Sober or Slammer 200 for the Truck Series. Motor Racing Network is not done. We're done for the day there in Darlington, but on the West Coast at Portland, the NASCAR Xfinity Series at 7 Eastern Time has the Pacific Office Automation 147. So I want to mention this on Saturday also. I told the folks I would do this. If you're at Darlington, 5:30 on Saturday, there's a 5K at the racetrack, the Terrence Caraway Memorial 5K. Terrence is a law enforcement officer down in the area that lost his life in the line of duty, and they're doing a 5K. So I do a little running. I'm getting ready to go lace up, walk the run, walk the race, 5:30 at Darlington. That'll wrap up Saturday's activities at Darlington. Sunday at Portland, or Sunday. Oh my gosh, I'm all over the map. Sunday, Darlington, one place, one race, one track, 5 o'clock, the Cookout Southern 500. It is going to be awesome, an awesome weekend down at Darlington. I love it.
Yeah, I love this. This is iconic. This is what racing is. This is like a crown jewel of our sport. Throwback in time. It's just old school racing. It's a perfect test of every element of a race team to kick off our playoffs.
Really, truly is. So it is going to be awesome. Join us all weekend long here on the Motor Racing Network. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. We're grateful for Richard Boswell joining us from up in Richard Childress Racing. More important than all of that, though, thank you for joining us this time here on Crew Call.